Hey everybody, we are going to work hard at doing a double exposure technique using Photoshop, and we will start with an image that looks like this, and we will end up with something like this, and also a second image that looks like this. Are we ready to create some art in Photoshop? Let's do it! Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, this is dedicated to photography and as a photo artist. All right, let's jump into today's program and got at least, I think it was a total of three issues that came up that were the same issue, and that is, how can I do some creative things working like a double exposure into Photoshop and creating something that's very artistic? There is a lot of different ways to do things. I'll share with you one of my favorite ways of doing it, but remember, it's not the only way of doing things. So let's dive right in here to Photoshop. So obviously I need to start with an image, and I'm just going to use a couple stock images that I got. You could, obviously take your own photograph. You're going to do this. So I'm going to open up this image right here. And again, it's just a stock image I got. Let me make this a little bit smaller so we can see this. Now, the first thing we want to do is I need to a selector and create a mask to start this process. And the way I'm going to do that is go right over here on my toolbar, and it says select subject. Now, if you're new to somewhat in your settings with Photoshop, let me make a suggestion. That is under the window drop-down menu, there's a feature here toward the bottom called contextual taskbar. Make sure that that is activated down here. And then it tends to be floating and it sort of moves around. I like to have mine docked in a certain spot and it always stays there. So I clicked and dragged and moved mine up here. And you can see on the far right, if I click down on this spot right here, the little pop-down menu, you'll see this activated and it says pin bar to position. Now that I have that done, every time I open up Photoshop, that's where the contextual taskbar will be. Personally, for me, I hate it floating around. Okay, so with that done, I'm just going to choose the feature here that says to select subject. Let it do its job. And again, this is not a busy background, so it should work out pretty well. And then I'm just going to come down here to click on the icon to create a mask. So that's the cutout right there. Now, before I continue to work on this, I'd like to have a background. So what we're going to do is go to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk. That's not the official name of the button, but I'm going to click on that. And in the drop-down menu here, we will see a feature called solid color. And I'm going to pick that because that way I'm allowed to pick up whatever color I want. Well, to start with, I want to be pure white. So there's my marker right there. Selected that, make sure it's pure white. There's a reason why it's going to be pure white, but if I don't want it to be pure white, it may cause a problem. And I'll show you how to fix that problem toward the end of this video. So I'm just going to click on OK to accept that. And I'm going to go over here to the layer, click and drag and push this down to the bottom. So that is my base. So now we have the person cut out. And before I move on, this could be like, I don't know, a product shot. This could be a still life. I would even try doing things creatively in a landscape shot. So don't think it's limited to just what I'm doing here on a subject like this. Okay, so now they have the background white right there. What I'm going to do is go to the very top layer, which is the photograph. Make sure I select that. And I'm going to come down here again to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk. And what I want to do is choose black and white. And when I choose that, obviously that's going to convert this to black and white. And you'll see that by default, it's at the default setting. Well, I'm going to change that. And again, you can experiment with this. I like using a high contrast blue filter. It's just personal preference. You can go in there if you want on the sliders and adjust things based on your personal needs. And each image is going to be slightly different. This also could be changed later as we're creating this. So again, I'm just going to go to the drop down and choose high contrast blue filter to start with. Okay, now that I have that set, what I want to do is what I'm going to use for my double exposure. So let me go Control O or Command O on a Mac to get my open dialog box. Oops, I'm sorry. Hit the wrong key there. Control O to get my open dialog box. And I was going to use this. I played with that before. And again, stock image. I'm going to do this one because I haven't used that one yet. So I'm going to try this. And again, it's a stock image. You could take a photograph like this. Not a big deal. And click on Open. And when this opens up, you're going to see a lot of white area. And I want to minimize the white area as much as possible. So I'm going to prep this image, and I'm going to do this, Control J or Command J. Now, again, this is totally optional. It's, in this example, it's just my decision. Control T, Command T on a Mac. That is the transform tool. I'm just going to right mouse click in here. I could resize that, but I'm just going to, let's flip it horizontal like that. And maybe expand this up a bit. So I'm going to go to a corner here and maybe make this a little bit bigger. Enter on the keyboard to accept that, and my blending mode is going to be multiply. Now, what I'm trying to do here is minimize the white areas, and this will make more sense a little bit later, but again, this is all personal preference. I like the way that looks. If I didn't, I would probably move the top layer around. So again, grab my move tool, and you could adjust that if you want, but I sort of like it about right there. So I'm going to leave it right there, and then I'm going to do this. Shift Control Alt E. That should be Shift Command Option E on a Mac, and that gives me a stamp layer. Just means everything's consolidated on a single layer. I'm going to take this layer, click and drag it over to our project file and drop it down. And with that selected, I'm going to do Control T, and I'm just going to rotate this so it fits. I could leave it there and expand that, or just adjust it like this. Let me go this way, and I'm going to position it about, right there, and let's expand this. Okay, and this could be all adjusted based on your vision of the project right there. Now that I have that set, I'm going to change the blending mode here to screen. And this is important because with screen, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, because I have a white background here, and I'm using a screen blending mode, anything that's pure white will show right through. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk again, and I'm just going to choose a, again, black and white. And you could play with the different, say, blending modes here. You could change over here the default to high contrast again if you want. Again, it's always going to be based on the image and the colors and what's going on. So I'm just going to leave that right there. And now what I want to do is show you a couple techniques here. And one is masking. I want to mask off some information off her face. I'm going to make a recommendation, or a suggestion, I should say, and that is I'm going to go to this layer that has that information there, and I'm going to do Control G or Command G on a Mac. That will put that in its own group. Now, I'll explain why I'm doing that in a minute, but you could rename the group name, that's fine, but with the group selected, I'm going to add a mask to that group. Now, the only thing in the group, again, is this layer right here, correct? So now if I'm on the mask, I can come over here, grab my paintbrush, B for brush, make sure it's a soft edge brush, and it's set at, let me do about 30% opacity, and I'm just going to paint over the areas that I want to take some of that texture off. You can leave some if you want on the skin, but again, this is going to be, you're the artist on this, right? So choose what you want to do. So I'm just painting in this area and sort of like that look right there. Okay, so with that finished, there is my, let me turn this on and off. There's before and after, but if I go to the mask, hold the shift key down, click on the mask, you can see the before and after on the face. So that's going to be based on your image, the subject matter, as to what you might want to mask out. Maybe I'd like to get part of her ear back, so I could go in there and bring some of that in their earring. I mean, again, you're the artist. You're going to pick and choose what you want to do right there. Okay, so with that done, let's talk about why it's important to have a plain white background here. Because if I change my mind and I come over here to the bottom and I go, I'd like maybe, I don't know, a neutral gray or something. So if I double click on this and I choose gray, this is what happens. It brings in the rest of the foliage back there. Now, you might like this and say, oh, this is great. But let's pretend that I don't want that. I still want that white background, but I have this problem right here. Well, what you could do now is take this mask right here that we did earlier. If you hold the Alt key down, that should be Option on a Mac. So I'm holding that Alt key down. Again, Option on a Mac. I click and drag up, and it puts a copy of that mask here. And so I don't have to redo the mask again, right? And now I've got that neutral gray background, again, if that's what you want, okay? Now that allows me to do things like this. I'm gonna come down to the very bottom layer right here, and I'm gonna find a texture, something like this. And even though this colored, it's gonna convert to black and white, which is fine because of the black and white feature that we put right here on this layer. I'm gonna click and drag this into my project. I'm gonna move this over here. And I'm going to, again, just click and drag this out, fill the area in, and turn the keyboard. And this, I might, again, change my blending mode because that's normal to maybe, let's see how screen looks. Screen looks pretty cool. So I could do something like that. Color dodge looks pretty cool. Again, personal preference on this, right? So, in fact, I could even push that down a bit, the opacity. So again, there's before and after on the background, adding some texture. That could be our completed, picture right there, or piece of artwork, if that's what you want. But how about doing this? What if I wanted to add some color? So I'm going to select this layer, Control J, Command J on a Mac. So what I just did was duplicated that. Let me expand this down. Let me click this and drag it to the very top. And let's change the blending mode to, we'll just play with this as we scroll down. Overlay looks pretty cool, soft light. I'm going to go with overlay, and I'm going to push that up to 100% opacity up here. And that might be too much. I mean, again, it's up to you. I'm going to pull down on that a little bit. Or maybe at 100%, let's go maybe with soft light. So it looks like that. And again, I mean, you can do Control J to push it more, and push this down a little bit for control. Okay, so again, you are the artist. And by the way, if you're learning anything, if you could do me a favor, and that is please consider liking the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and hit that notification bell. The next time I upload a video, which is once a week, you'll get notified on that. Okay, with that out of the way, let me just do a quick announcement here. I would like to thank the people that have been continuously donating a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Stephen Photo Artist. The link is right here at the bottom of the screen, and also it will be in the show notes. This is not a monetized channel, so I really appreciate the people that have been donating the coffee and the ones that have been jumping over to the extra tab and purchasing a couple of the templates that I offer for sale over there. And those, again, are very reasonably priced. Okay, now let's talk about if I decide that I want to move this texture around. So I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to show you a little gotcha. If I do Control T or Command T on a Mac, because I decided I'd like to increase the size of this or decrease the size of this, or even move it around with the Move tool, watch what happens when I click and drag and I decide to move it. Oh, shoot, look what just happened. See this over here? The mask also moved, and I don't want that. So let me undo that. So I just did Control Z. So what you want to do is, you can see right here, there is a chain link. If I click on the chain link, I'm unlinking that. So now if I do Control T maybe to resize it and move it around, you can see that I'm just moving, again, the texture around, but the mask is staying in the same spot. So if I want to readjust things, oops, that slid over to the side. If I want to readjust, maybe make this bigger and move this around, this is really important because I just want all this information here on the layer to move around, but not the mask. So a little bit of a gotcha. Just make sure you remember to unlink this. If you want to link it back again, just click in that spot and it puts the chain link right back. Okay, if you have any questions or suggestions on things you'd like to see in the future, email address is right here at the very bottom. It is stephenphotoartist@gmail.com. Again, thank you for the people that have been supporting the channel at buymeacoffee.com/StephenPhotoArtist. All right, let's get that camera out. Let's take a look at some of your past images and let's try this technique and let's see how creative you can do with your images. Till next time, see ya.